What's in your wallet?
I'm so old.
I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5 explosive hot dog carts.
Ritualistic blood magic.
Laser shooting chesty statues.
Don't watch movies unless we tell you to. Welcome to Movies with My Best Friend Phil, a movie podcast where we start the spooky season a little bit early. I'm your host, Phil Kessel, Spookman Jenkins. That's my nickname.
Yeah, it is.
Joined as always by two of my spooky best friends, Will Chodas, Mr. Spooktacular.
Is that really different? Different enough from Spookman?
Yeah, it was Spookman Jenkins.
Okay, yeah, you're right. You know what? I'm coming in with negative energy. I really shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. Come in with positives.
Yeah, positive
We're vibing.
energy.
We're doing the thing
for the first time ever. I could give it a try.
Yeah. The Spooktacular Will Chodas.
Yeah. Hey, Phil, how you doing?
Oh my God, I'm doing great, man.
Yeah.
I am just like, I am living it right now.
Yeah, that sounded forced. I'm not sure why.
Isn't everything forced a little bit?
I mean, yes.
I think Phil is living it more than we are, though, because he's a mile higher than we are.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
I am living it.
And his TV looks gigantic from this point of view.
I'm in a new location, but before I tell you about my new location, let me tell you about my other great friend.
I thought you were going to go into like a sponsored like promo for a second. Let me tell you about HelloFresh.
We're not sponsored by HelloFresh. We just love them that much.
No, Scarantula Norlin.
Oh gosh, got to work on these names.
Yeah. I didn't go to school for improv. I went to school for psychology and I got C's. So
all right.
This is what we're working with.
Yep. Okay. Got it. So we are starting the spooky season early. I have put out my Halloween tree as a new addition this year, which is a very small tree that has Halloween ornaments on it.
Do you have lights on it?
Yeah, it's got lights. It's got kind of orangey lights.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if I turn you can see it there in the corner.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Okay,
the lights
those
are
definitely
on.
blue.
Those are the Haunted Mansion light ornaments. So,
ladies and gentlemen, Craig says there's orange lights. He turns his camera and it is just a tree that is glowing blue.
Yep.
It's also roughly 3 feet high.
It is very small. It was one of those things where you buy it on Amazon. You're like, oh, surely I know how tall this. No, I don't.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it wasn't Temu though. I know better than that.
Yeah, that would have shown up like a 6-inch tall tree.
Yeah.
Will,
or
I'm
like
assuming...
an 18-foot tall tree.
Probably. Will, I'm assuming that you have all of your Halloween stuff out.
Well, I'm not going to take any credit because I definitely don't put out decorations at all.
We weren't going to give you the credit.
I know, but he said
we
you
know who it is.
You know, I just wanted to make sure. It sounded like maybe he was saying I did these things, and he was just saying, as in your household. Yes, Caitlin, my wife, has put out tons of Halloween stuff. So we're not so much down here. I think I have my Nightmare Before Christmas poncho over there that's covering my TV, and then a pumpkin. You can't see it from where you guys are, but there's just like one
we can
pumpkin.
feel it.
Yeah. No, I don't. But the upstairs is all skeletons and spooky stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I took Benji to Target today because I'm like, oh, surely they have their Halloween stuff out. Yep, they do. Mm-hmm. And so I spent the next half an hour basically scaring him with everything I could.
Nice.
I mean, he likes it, but he does not like spiders, I found out.
Ooh, well, that's a pretty common one.
It's pretty common, yeah. Just like, hey, look at this. And he just like, we went to the zoo and I'm like, they're behind glass, they can't get you, but it's like
Mm.
Oh my
whole
gosh.
a wall of tarantulas and scorpions, and he's just like
Beautiful. It's wonderful.
terrified.
It's so good. Have you been to the Toledo Zoo?
Well, that's
with
where
the
we were.
cool, Is that where you were?
Yep,
The cool like indoor.
Yep.
Yes,
the
with
Natural
the
History Museum in there.
Yes. Oh, that section is so
So good.
cool.
Yeah, that is worth the price of admission by
Alone.
itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
That building
It's
is so
insane.
cool.
It's insane how much stuff they have in there, and you're like, there's a whole zoo outside of this too. But
Yeah.
they got Komodo dragons in there. There's 2 of them that are really
Yeah.
cool,
It's amazing.
and they have all the extinct creatures. Like, what do you call it? What do you call those displays?
Cool
feel-
displays.
Oh, yeah, cool displays. That's it. I feel like there's a term for
Terrariums?
not
No, wait,
terrariums.
what are we
like,
talking-
No, it's
What are we
they're
talking
like
about?
Info.
like when you go to a museum, like Night at the Museum, all the like the wax
Oh.
figures.
Oh, I see now. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention.
Okay, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
really?
What? Oh my god, that's so crazy.
thought we were still talking about spiders.
They have one which has like 6 or so buttons, and you press the button. I feel like I've talked to you guys about this before because I'm so excited about it.
Yeah.
6 or so buttons, and you press the button, and it shows like it's an animal sting or bite, and you press it, and it shows on the human body like where it bites and like
Yep.
what it affects on you.
Yikes.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Science, man, animal science. Why did I go to school for psychology? I don't get excited about psychology.
It's because we were all scammed
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
Yeah, we
our
were.
parents' generation. I'm the only one who got a degree in what my job currently is, and I don't need it. The degree I got. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
woof.
I would have been better off just buying a camera and starting a business on my own.
Kids, it's all a lie.
Yeah,
Well,
None of
don't
it's
do
real.
it.
Yeah,
None
but
of
here's
it's
the
real.
thing, though. If you don't have one, it's the greatest excuse not to pay you enough. So it is
Go to
really
a trade
damned if
school.
you do, damned if you don't.
Go to a trade school.
Yeah.
Trade school for
don't.
sure.
Still, some places, it depends. Anyways, I just don't want to give advice,
Kids.
life advice
also,
for anybody.
Also, the world's probably going to be over by the time you get to.
Yeah, so
that
don't try.
time to do that
Nothing
anyways.
matters.
Nothing matters. Everything's bonkers.
Yeah.
Just go buy a big TV.
Wait, Phil,
Yeah.
what would you use to buy that TV? Like, if you were to put some sort of paper or
Oh my
metal
gosh,
clanging
yeah.
things inside of it?
Yeah, like a flappy metal thing.
Yeah. Like, what would that be called, though?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Is it
so it wouldn't be.
pantaloons?
That's
Yeah,
right.
well,
Just straight
it
up
wouldn't
pantaloons.
be your pantaloons.
Oh, no? Okay.
No, because I feel like the money would fall all to the bottom of your curly bottom pants,
That's right.
and then they'd fall out the
or
bottom.
my curly shoes.
Yeah. So you'd have to have something that would go into it, and it wouldn't be a coin purse because that's just for coins,
Oh,
legally speaking. If they found you with something else in there, they could take you straight to jail.
yeah, that's a well-known fact in our reality.
We do not give advice on this podcast that would send someone straight to jail.
No.
So I think what you're thinking of.
We're close. We're almost there.
We're really close. We're almost
Yes.
there. I think what you're thinking of is a purse.
That's right. It's a segment where we reach deep into our best friend's pants and rip out some recommendations. It's what's in your wallet. Did we get there? Did I jump the gun?
I was gonna say
I might have jumped the gun.
terrarium.
It's a terrarium. It's a money terrarium.
I wasn't paying attention again.
Who are you?
I don't know. All right, so Bill, what do you got for us? What's your recommendations?
Okay.
What have you been up to?
Guys, I did something amazing this weekend. I had some coworkers over on Friday.
Ew.
Ew.
That doesn't sound amazing at all. Bad
No,
start.
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, it was a lame, boring work party. It wasn't. They came over, we ate some tacos, and we played Dungeons and Dragons.
What?
What?
The role-playing tabletop RPG?
The tabletop role-playing game? You're interested in that, Phil? You've never mentioned it once or twice or 10 times before.
Never.
It's not all you do. It's not all you talk about. It's not all you think about. Jack doesn't glaze her eyes over every time you talk because it's all you talk about.
You don't
It's all I
mistake
do.
the memories of your life with the pretend memories from the game constantly. Not you, not me.
I don't know what you mean.
Me either.
So it was, I had 3 coworkers over. 2 of them had never played the game. One of them had played a few times.
Great start.
So I introduced 2 people to the game, and they are into it now.
Cool.
They want to play again. I did a one-shot. I made characters for them, which was really fun. I made characters that, like, I thought were going to be really cool for them. I kind of based them vaguely off their personalities and, like, what I knew about them. I was like, oh, I think they're going to like this. I think they're going to want to do, like, this kind of character. And it worked out really well. They were,
Okay.
like, really into the character. And
Phil, you do like your coworkers, right? You didn't like one of them was just a thief or a scoundrel.
one of them was the biggest piece of shit in the world. He kept looking at me like, wait, why are all my scores like -5?
What is
Phil?
this?
Why don't I have any spells? Why is my name Garbage Butthead? No, so but it was funny because I kept my friend Mark, he kept like, when I gave him the character sheet, he kept like not complaining, but he kept like looking at it and he's like, oh, why am I not strong? Like, why do I have like no strength? I'm like, well, because you're a wizard. You cast spells. You don't need strength. And he's like, yeah, but like, I have like a -1 in strength. But this guy's got like a +4 in strength. This guy's so strong. Talking about one of the other coworkers, and then I was like, yeah, but you're gonna be blasting guys with spells. He's just like, oh, yeah, no, that actually sounds pretty fun. I was like, I know. I made the character for you. I know what you want to do. I've known you for a year now. So it's pretty fun. We played a story that I like, a one shot that I wrote. And at the end of it, they get to like the top of this tower, and they're supposed to have to either make a deal with the devil or fight the devil and leave the tower. And I wrote this. I didn't even write an option where they immediately took the deal.
Oh no.
I thought they were going to fight him. And they got up there, and I presented them with the deal, and Mark looks at him, and he's just like, yeah, okay. And I was like, oh. And I just had to ad-lib the rest, basically.
Oh no.
C&D.
And I was just like, well, shoot. But then one of the other guys was like, he started to try and convince the devil to take his soul for the other 2. And tried to like convince him that his soul was worth more than the other 2 and was worth enough to like give the other 2 what they wanted and only take his soul. And I was like, damn, that's really within what I wrote for that character. So I got to reward this guy for like reading what I wrote about his character. It was just really good. It was really fun. I wrote like a little backstory for each of them, and it was clear that they all like read the backstory, and I did like I made a little letter on like tea stained paper, and then I wax sealed it for them. I went all out.
Wow, that's pretty
Jeez.
cool.
It was awesome. And they all had a great time, and they were wanting to play again. Obviously I'm moving, so it's going to be a little difficult to do, but we're either going to try and play online, or it'll just be like if I come back for a holiday party, or like just randomly throughout the year. So yeah, it was just really fun. It was really fun to DM for some coworkers, for people who hadn't played. It's fun to stretch the old DM legs. I don't get to do it very often. And got to bust out some weird accents and voices for coworkers who don't get to see that side of me ever.
Nice.
And they all they all kind of went in on it. It was fun to see. They didn't do voices, but they
Oh, bummer.
they talked to me, not like I talked to them in the voice and they
talked
directly
back
to me,
as opposed to saying I'm gonna say this now, and then
yeah, exactly, yeah. And I was like, I'll take it, yeah. And they talked as they made decisions as their character. They did things as their character, and I was like, man, I couldn't be happier about the way this went. It was fucking great.
I think it's funny. So Phil, most people listening know that Phil and I play D&D together with my older brother, and every once in a while we'll start doing something, and I'll just be like, no, let's we'll start deciding what we want to do next, our characters, and I'll just be like, no, let's role play it. Let's do it as our characters, because that's my favorite part, is to just do funny voices as the characters, because I like making decisions based off what I think my character would do versus, I don't know, because that's the whole role-playing part, Yeah. It's fun.
It's 70% of the fun of the game.
Yeah. I mean, unless you find all of that incredibly embarrassing, then it seems like it would be awful,
Oh, yeah, there is that. And I've played at tables that don't do that at all, and it's also still fun. It's still fun to just do the combat and just kind of describe what you do. That's also still fun.
Yeah, I don't feel like I would have as much. I think at that point for me, I would be like, why don't I just play a video game? You know what I mean? Or a board game or something. Anyways, but maybe that's just the theater kid in me screaming. But hey. I'm gonna piggyback off of. Or Phil, was that your whole recommendation? Was to play for us to play D&D?
My official recommendation is to play D&D with either your coworkers or your friends. Just play Dungeons and Dragons or another tabletop game. Just play them. They're so much fun.
Yeah. Well,
they're everything. It's literally all I do anymore. I don't think about anything else. I barely eat anymore. I don't sleep right anymore.
Okay.
My whole life is falling apart. It's just tabletop games.
Yeah, I'm ignoring all of this.
Please help me.
No. So, speaking of tabletop RPGs, my recommendation is a podcast that I have technically recommended before. It's the Glass Cannon podcast. It's now become the Glass Cannon Network, where they do a bunch of different actual play podcasts. But this is their flagship one. They did their first campaign was like 300 something episodes long. I listened to almost all of it, but then I got kind of burnt out. And they recently started on a season 2 with almost an entire with newish cast, a lot of the same people as before. But it's only they're only about 40 episodes in, so it's not super hard to jump in. Just make sure you jump in at the beginning of their second campaign. And I just love this podcast. It is it's just 5 or 6 friends shooting the shit for 20 minutes, and then they get into their role playing and all their characters, and it's like listening to a TV show while it's an improvised television show that is randomized. So characters will characters will die, and in the most unsatisfying way sometimes, but then they will bring the character back somehow, or we'll get flashbacks of those characters. So it's like a really cool storytelling device using D&D as sort of the I don't know what to say, medium, I guess, kind of, even though it's a podcast, that's really the medium. I'm not quite sure. The vehicle, I suppose. Although this show isn't Dungeons and Dragons, they play Pathfinder, which I think I've said this before, which is the Lutheran Church to the Catholic Church. Because at one point D&D switched things up, I guess, and then a lot of fans were like, no, we want it to be crunchier. And that's, I think, the hardest part about listening to this podcast. It's made me realize I never, ever, ever want to play Pathfinder. Because it is so crazy rules heavy. Like, and it's like they are trying to, it feels like the creators of Pathfinder are trying to desperately recreate reality where like literally everything has a role or a rule.
Yeah.
And they're on 2E now, which is their second edition of Pathfinder, and it's even more rules than before, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas like there's different types of damage, there's different types of, and it like after a while, the worst part about the podcast, in my opinion, is when they get into a combat and they're about like, I don't know, like a whole round in, and then they realize they've done something wrong. So then they spend the next like 10 to 15 minutes trying to figure out how to course correct on the small, minute rule that they forgot to do. And it's just a lot of like, it's just, sometimes it can be fun because they have like really great personalities. So they like argue and it's fun to hear them argue because there's a lot of different people coming. But sometimes it can just be like, just Joe, shut up and just like move on. Like, God, who cares? Yeah.
Oh, Joe.
Yeah, he's actually my favorite. I like Joe the most. But
of all the casts of all the shows, I think Sydney is my favorite.
Sydney, I at first I did not like because she was the new person on, and I was like, how dare they? Who is this new person
who thinks this new person in my show?
In my show, and then she started like being. She's. I kind of feel like she comes from things from a completely different angle, which is fun.
Yes.
And interesting. And I definitely like Sydney. And then I found out that she is the middle child, and she's got an older sister and a younger sister, which is sort of like me. And I suddenly like, I understand Sydney on a level I didn't realize. And I also the newest cast member for me is Kate, and anyways, nobody cares about this. I like Kate a lot.
Me. This is a conversation for you.
This is for the two of us. We should cut the.
I'm still here.
Hey, Craig.
Hey, Craig.
Hi.
You've been there the whole time.
When did you get here? Did we start?
Yeah,
I
guess
we
we
want to
did.
start recording. Welcome to.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, so I highly recommend checking that out at the second campaign.
I honestly think if you have any interest in listening to any actual plays, I do think Glass Cannon is a great place to start. I think we've talked about this already.
I mean,
any of their shows I think are good to start if you're interested in really any actual plays, but if you're interested in any of those specific games.
Yes. And it helps because it's Troy LaValle is like the main guy. He is a comedian. Like he's an actor as well. And Sydney's an actor. Joe O'Brien, I think, was a talent agent, but he was in the entertainment field. So like all of them come from entertainment. Like Matthew is like a playwright. So like they all sort of come from it from a very storytelling perspective. And Joe is like their rules guy because but he's still like his favorite part is still the role playing aspect. So they're really good at like telling stories, and they're all very different in the way they approach things. So it can be a lot of different things can happen. And yeah, the main guy, Troy LaValle, is hilarious. So he's really fun. Anyways, Craig, what do you have in your wallet? Is it a D&D thing?
No,
I
isn't.
hope it is. Oh,
Craig, do you have a tabletop game in your wallet?
Okay, I'm gonna roll.
You're gonna feel really left out.
I'm gonna roll and see if I'm gonna like what Craig's gonna do. I got a 14. I guess I'm gonna like it.
Okay, so apparently I've been in the mood for movies about women going insane, but maybe not going insane.
Gaslighting?
What does that mean?
So the first movie is called Resurrection, and this stars Rebecca Hall, who is super good in everything I've seen her in. She was in
She's great, yeah.
Yeah, she was in the new King Kong Godzilla movies, but she was in The Prestige a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like she's super well known, but like I said, everything I've seen her in, she's really good. She's excellent in this. I don't think this one knocks it out of the park 100%, but both her and Tim Roth are very good. It's she has her daughter's going away to college, and so she's kind of getting nervous about that. She's been raising her by herself this whole time, and then she starts seeing somebody from her past that kind of sets her into a fight or flight situation. So I recommend that one. That one's really good, if not just to watch her monologue. And then the other one I watched is The Innocents from 1961, and that is an adaptation of The Turn of the Screw, which I think is probably closer to what they base Bly Manor off of. That's the Mike Flanagan, The Haunting of Bly Manor that he did. Yeah, it was just interesting to watch, if only because you could tell where Mike Flanagan lifted some parts of that story, that version from there versus the book. And I guess the TV show borrows from a couple of Henry James's ghost stories, not just Turn of the Screw. But I've always liked that story. We had to read that in high school, and I remember not being like super engaged by it. But it kind of grew on me over time. And then, of course, once you see the movie version, or in this case, the TV version, you're like, oh, wait, I actually like this a lot. So, but very well shot. Unfortunately, I saw, for The Innocents, I saw it on very low quality because they didn't have it streaming anywhere. So I had to watch it off of YouTube. And did not look
been
great.
there.
Yeah.
I totally get it, because that's how I had to watch Super Mario Brothers.
Oh no! And of course, after
Probably
I
equal
saw
movies, right?
yeah, I saw that it was on Creature Features, which it would have been perfect quality. So I was a bit disappointed in myself for not looking further, but the cinematography is excellent. Very influential black and white movie from the 60s. So if you're familiar with Turn of the Screw, definitely check it out. It's about a governess who is taking care of these two kids, and she becomes convinced that they are being haunted, in this case, possessed by former inhabitants. So, yeah. Again, women who are maybe going crazy, but maybe not. Who knows?
It's a theme. I don't think we're the people to discuss it with you, but somebody might be. Somebody might be the person to discuss that with you, Craig.
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, no, that's both of those sound interesting. Resurrection sounds heavy as fuck.
Yeah.
Is that a rough one to watch?
It's not too rough.
Okay.
It's not too rough. It reminds me more of, if you wouldn't have seen it because it's not by your favorite director.
Cool. Okay,
good start. It's oh gosh, now I'm forgetting it, but it's Roman Polanski. Repulsion. It's a lot like Repulsion, except you kind of know pretty early on that girl's very crazy. Sorry.
Spoiler alert for a movie I probably will never see.
Yeah. So speaking of women being in strange situations, we watched a movie.
We watched Suspiria, which is a 1977 Italian supernatural horror film directed by Dario Argento, who co-wrote the screenplay with Dario. It's Dario and Daria Nicolade. It's starring Jessica Harper, Stefania Cassini, Flavio Bucci, maybe, Miguel Bose, and Barbara Magnolfi. I don't know why I even try when we do these foreign movies. I'm just embarrassing myself and seeming offensive. It's 99 minutes long. I couldn't really tell what its budget was or how much it made because it's an old film and from Italy. How do you guys think this movie was doing on Rotten Tomatoes?
400.
400.
I'm going to go 84%.
I'm going to say 89.
Phil has it at 94.
Oh, okay.
On the tomato meter.
That's my psychic senses. We're getting the 4 from the 94, and I went 400.
Yeah,
So
Craig,
I
what did you
got to tune him up?
Craig, did you say 84?
I did.
Yeah, the audience score is 83, so you're more in tune with the
that was
audience.
The audience score. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna just kind of go into a little bit about the movie before we have a discussion about it. So funny story. I actually watched all of his movies, Dario Argento's, basically from his first directorial movie all the way through the 1980s. So that's 9 movies altogether.
Wow.
In the last 2 weeks. So I'm a little burnt out on Italian horror at the moment. Yeah, I'll just get into it. So Suspiria was the first supernatural film for Argento, with his first 4 horror movies: Bird with a Crystal Plumage, Cat o' Nine Tails, and Four Flies on Grey Velvet, and Deep Red, more heavily in the giallo genre. So giallo is Italian for yellow, and that gets its name from the crime mystery pulp novels with yellow covers that were very popular in Italy in the 30s and 40s. These movies were always involve outsiders, and so it's not the main person is not a police officer, which is pretty refreshing. Just because you don't have to always depend on, like, sometimes they're involved, but a lot of times it's like in Four Flies on Grey Velvet, it's a drummer in a band. Deep Red, it's a concert pianist. Cat o' Nine Tails, it's a reporter, and Crystal Plumage, it's an American writer who happens to be in Italy. So it's always somebody who's out of their element. They witness a crime and then find themselves stalked by the killer, forcing them to solve the mystery themselves. While some of the protagonists are unwilling participants in the mystery, more often they find themselves obsessed with solving it, with some even given an out at points, being told they can leave, and they don't do it because now they're too far into it. So the films are characterized by excessive blood, so typically very gory and disturbing, and stylish camera work and jarring musical arrangements. Oftentimes in these movies, the killer uses black gloves, trench coats, a mask or a hat, some way to disguise themselves. Less often, they would include supernatural elements, like with Suspiria and Argento's next film after that, Inferno. The narrative is oftentimes very loose, with disregard for realism. Something refreshing for horror movies from the 70s and 80s is giallo's treatment of LGBT plus persons in their films. While there is some unfortunate stereotyping, characters are not played for laughs and are often integral to the plot. That is something I noticed even from his first film, that trans character is not labeled as a sexual deviant. So,
which is,
not asking for a lot here, people.
Well, pretty good for a 1970s and 80s, though.
Yeah.
So giallo was first made famous by Mario Bava in the 60s with The Girl Who Knew Too Much and Blood and Black Lace, though it was Argento's Bird with a Crystal Plumage that it became an international hit and brought the giallo films to America. That film would even go on, it would be the #1 movie at the box office in America, something that had not happened for an Italian film up until that time. Probably the other famous Italian horror director connected that most people might recognize with giallo films is Lucio Fulci, who found his first success in the genre with Don't Torture a Duckling. Giallo had its heyday in the 60s and 70s, though they are still made today, even in American cinema, namely Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho and James Wan's *Malignant*. Both came out just a few years ago. Did either of you guys see those ones?
No.
No. Last Night in Soho's on my list, but
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
That one's definitely heavily, this is meant to be a giallo film.
Okay.
*Malignant*, it's more inspired by it. But I've seen both of them. I like them both a lot. So giallo heavily, that is, in terms of the progression of horror movies, it leads straight into the slasher movies of the 80s. If you couldn't tell just by watching this movie, and how it works with the amount of gore and women being murdered sort of thing. So perception plays a large part in each of Argento's films. Oftentimes the main character will experience something, a struggle, like in Bird with the Crystal Plumage, a painting in Deep Red, or a conversation like in Suspiria. And it's only after some time has gone by that they realize the significance of the incident, or that they misremembered something. This all plays into the surreal atmosphere of his movies. Suspiria takes the basics of the giallo genre, namely a very simple story. An American girl, an outsider, goes to a new place, Germany, and strange things start to happen. Witches. And so you have that, the gory death scenes, bizarre music, and the unique camera work are basically just dialed up to 11. Much of the movie seems to work on dream logic, rooms full of barbed wire, heavy use of colors. Mystery's not really who the killer is. It's mostly portrayed as a generic, like, monster hands attacking people.
Right.
It is, who is the mysterious headmistress, and like, what is their plan here at the school? The film was heavily influenced by fairy tales, especially Disney's version of Snow White, and the silent film The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which was known for its use of lighting and striking sets.
Yeah.
Suspiria is one of the first Italian horror movies I've seen, and the first of Argento's filmography that I had seen. I would see it mentioned with videos or articles about great cult horror movies, and I eventually gave into my curiosity. Suspiria was unlike anything I'd ever seen. A movie bathed in colors, not least of which the color red. A movie that is incredibly violent but beautiful at the same time. The movie really stuck with me after watching it, and it's only gotten better with repeated viewings. So I talked about, I've watched Basilaw's movies from 1970 to 1987. He did have one lone non-horror movie called The 5 Days. Kind of the same trajectory as John Carpenter, where he made a lot of really great movies in a row, with a couple of like non-horror, like Starman for Carpenter, but nobody cared.
Yeah.
So he's like, all right, I guess I'll just stay in my lane.
Yeah.
And then Argento's father, if you look at any of his films, up until Opera was the last one I watched, his father's the producer on it, but he died after that, and so a lot of people think that's the reason why the quality of his movies took a nosedive. So he's still making movies to this day, but they really haven't hit near the heights that he had with Suspiria or Deep Red, which is considered it's between those two, what people consider his best work. Deep Red's more of a culmination of the giallo films that he was making, the first three. Bird of the Crystal Plumage, Cat o' Nine Tails, and Four Flies. That's his animal trilogy. And the Suspiria starts with his the Witches trilogy. I forget exactly what they call it, but it's that, Inferno, and it's the Mother of Tears, I believe, is what it's called. That came in like 2007, and nobody likes it. So, anyway, so thank you for listening to my long-winded
Coming to my TED
kind
Talk.
of summation of it. But yeah. Will, I saw this with you. We didn't talk too much, but what was your thoughts after seeing it?
Well, what were my thoughts after I liked it. I feel like you and I have talked in the past about like, for whatever reason, whenever we watch a movie from the 70s, we're just like, there's something about this I like. I'm nostalgic for an era I didn't live through. So I enjoyed it. I actually, I found myself the other day, and I told you this later, but I was like lying down and like trying to fall asleep, and I just, for whatever reason, was like, you know what I'll put on? I'll put on the Goblin. I'll put on the album from this and listen to this as a way of like, not necessarily like relaxing, but just like trying to like quiet my brain. Because like my problem is that my brain was saying like, you're gonna die, everyone in your family hates you, you're gonna die. I'm like, let's just like stop that for a minute.
The usual.
The usual. So I found myself really liking the music in it, and I mentioned that I'm a big fan of using light to convey mood in movies. I feel like we do. It's interesting when when you make a movie and you go and you watch a movie, nobody gets upset that a movie has a score. Do you know what I mean? Like you're listening to a movie, and a lot of the times the emotion of a scene is set and like enhanced by the use of the score. And so what I like about movies like this, like they're all like in a room, or like the one scene like where they're all sleeping in the gymnasium or wherever it was, or the dance hall or whatever, and it was like the light, they've turned off all the lights and there's just like bright red lights everywhere, which like wouldn't exist, and so I kind of liked that. I liked that in this movie that they used on like non-realistic lighting to set the stage, to kind of tell you, to clue you in as to what's happening next, which I like, again, which to me is sort of like using the sort of score logic, the music logic of being like, well, if we can play music that doesn't exist, why can't the lighting also not exist? Like help set the stage, set the mood. Yeah. So I really enjoyed that. I liked a lot of the suspense. The mystery again wasn't like super compelling, I want to say. Like the necessarily like, I wasn't like, oh, what's I don't know. I feel like the mystery of high and low was sort of more gripping to me, in the sense that it was like, oh yeah, who did this? How did this happen? Like sort of figuring out the investigation of this. But I did find it suspenseful. I was like, oh, who's gonna die? Is this one of those movies where they kill off the main character and you don't know? You know what I mean? Like, so that sort of stuff was, I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was great. The only thing that was, awkward about it, I would say, is just some of the dubbing was weird, but that's just like because
it's Italian cinema.
Yeah, that's just how they made the movies back then. But so many old movies from the 60s, 70s, and earlier on are also dubbed, even when everyone was speaking the right language. So I don't know. I'm curious, Phil, you sent a kind of a cryptic text last night after watching this movie.
Yeah.
How did you feel about it?
Well, okay, so I think I need to set the stage with how I watched the movie.
Okay. I mean, I already know what the stage is you were at your desk at work, watching it in between eavesdropping on your boomer coworkers.
No, I never watch movies at the office.
Oh, okay.
That's good.
Except for the one time I watched Hunt for the Wilder People at the office.
Oops.
But I had downloaded it on Netflix, so nobody knew I watched it.
Okay.
No, I watched this last night on the TV downstairs because it was on. The only way I could watch it, because Craig decided to watch a movie that doesn't exist, was on Roku on an app called Freebie or Freevee.
Yeah.
So my rating will absolutely include an asterisk, because And I will send you guys a real quick photo. This isn't for the listeners, obviously, but you guys can explain. Let's see. And this is about as good as it was the entire time I watched it. It got about 10 times worse. So the entire movie, so we started with 7 ads. Of the 7 ads, all 7 were the exact same ad. I saw that ad 10 more times throughout the span of the movie. Throughout the movie, the upper left-hand corner was an ad the entire time.
Oh my God.
There was a point where the entire screen shrunk down to be about a third of the screen, and then the outside border was also an ad. It was never like taking over the audio. It was just taking over the visual.
Wow.
So starting it out there maybe wasn't the greatest way to watch the movie, but it was the only way I could watch the movie. I was doing my best. I think for this movie, there were a lot of ingredients I saw that I was like, okay, that's cool. I just didn't like the soup that it came in.
Huh.
I liked a lot of the ingredients. I was like, there were a lot of things that I was like, this is cool. This is cool. This is cool. It was just the soup they were in. I didn't like it all together in the way that it was served to me is maybe the best way I can put it.
Okay. So not a fan of
I was
soup.
also confused a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was a lady whose name I did not know, and I don't know if I was supposed to know, who seemed to be a main character, who had letters that she wrote.
Had letters that she wrote?
And then one of them was about...
was it not her roommate, but the girl?
It was not her roommate, but the woman who kept coming into the room.
Yeah.
While she was drugged out.
Her sweet mate or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about her that you didn't understand?
I didn't know her name.
Oh.
So I didn't know. It just felt like I didn't
Sarah.
know who she
was. Her name was Sarah. Yeah.
Oh, it was Sarah. That was Sarah.
Yeah.
Okay, from the beginning.
Yeah, Sarah was her
I knew Sarah at the beginning, and then I guess when she came back into the story, I didn't remember that was her. Okay, so that fills a gap for me.
Yeah. So, quick
feels better.
Plot summary for those of our audience who didn't watch this movie, which is probably everyone. So basically the story is a young American girl goes to Germany to join a dance group. And she is, so it's kind of weird when she first arrives, someone is leaving the house and leaving this dance academy and yells something, which Craig kind of alluded to in his TED Talk, that this was sort of the thing that she heard but didn't quite understand and would come back later. So the young girl who her name is Susie. So actually no, our main character's name. Let me start over. The main character's name is Susie, and the girl in the door running out, his name is Pat. Anyway, so Susie can't get in to the academy that night, but is able to the next day. But also that night, the girl who ran away, Pat, is murdered in a really strange circumstances, where like a demon monster comes through the window and pulls her out onto the roof, and then stabs her a bunch and throws her through a skylight. And then she is then hung. Right?
Yeah, she gets stabbed so much that her heart is exposed, and then she gets stabbed in the heart.
Yes.
And then she's still alive to the point where she can die once she gets hung.
Yes.
So, again, the realism here is
all over the place.
Is not.
Yes. And also, her friend, who was just happened to be nearby, was also horribly murdered by the falling glass of the skylight.
Yes.
So basically, that is sort of the mystery of most of the first and second act of the movie, is like what happened with Susie. You know what I mean? Like what happened with Pat, the dead girl, and Susie, our main character, trying to figure out what she witnessed when she saw her leave. She initially is told to stay with one of the other girls, Olga, who is just the biggest scenery chewer of the whole movie. She is just like, she was probably the best actress in her community theater program. Anyways, so she goes to stay with Olga, but then she like falls ill, and is prescribed by a person who I am convinced is not a doctor, but is posing as a doctor, that that she's got a blood problem and that the only way to fix it is to drink wine, because wine is the same color and consistency of blood, which feels like
Makes sense.
1400 logic, you know what I mean? But yeah, so Susie is then forced to stay in the academy, and her new sort of sweet mate is Sarah, who it has been and is trying to uncover what is going on in this academy, because as the movie progresses, more weird stuff begins happening, like maggots on the ceiling and random more people dying and things like that.
The piano player, he's interesting because, like, you don't know if they were just trying to get rid of him anyway for some reason, or if his dog actually did bite that weird, like, Damien-esque kid.
Yeah.
And
I clocked him as a creep immediately.
Well, yeah, the haircut, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote it down. I bet Albert's a little creep.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I love that whole scene of him, because we kind of follow him throughout. So he gets fired, he gets thrown out, and he's blind. And so he's got his helper dog with him. But apparently the dog bit the little boy, and so they excuse him. And you kind of see him go to, which is really jarring. You're in this like Oktoberfest celebration all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he leaves there, and he's traveling back through, and it's like ancient Rome that he's going through. But he's in the middle of this courtyard, and there's no one else around. He's like, okay, he's in the middle of nowhere. He would see anyone who's trying to sneak up on him, but you can feel something bad is about to happen.
Well, he can't see anybody.
Yeah, he can't see anything. And then he starts, like, the wind starts picking up, things get even more eerie, and then you see shadows, which it looks like there's witches flying on brooms overhead, which obviously is not what's happening, but the next thing you know, his dog jumps up and bites his neck off. So
yeah, it's
God.
Yeah.
That's horrific.
Yeah, that was pretty hard, because then they like just show the dog just sort of like ripping at meat, and it's not, you're like, oh yeah, that guy's probably
very dead.
Yeah, he's probably gone. But yeah, no, what basically ends up being uncovered is that like this academy was founded by somebody who is accused of being a witch, essentially, back in the 100 years past or whatever. And Susie's sweet mate, Sarah, is like convinced that it's got something to do, like all the weirdness has got something to do with the directress or whatever it's, right? Directress?
Headmistress.
Yeah. The headmistress, basically. And that she's like, something's going on with her, but then before she can really figure out what it is, she's killed. Sarah is. Or she's killed,
yeah.
but everyone is being told that she just left.
She just left.
Yeah.
That's the one where she, the worst killer ever, where he's trying to open up the latch and he's doing a really bad job of it, and you were so mad.
Yeah. So at one point she's like in this room, and she puts a latch down. She doesn't like deadlock. It's not a bolt. It's just like a little like latch that you would put like on a back fence just to keep the wind from blowing open. and the killer like sticks this like putty knife through and is trying to knock the little latch up, but he can't for reasons that remain unclear.
Yeah.
And he does it for like enough time for Sarah to freak out, calm herself down, sort of reassess the whole situation, like pile up all these suitcases, climb up, and jump out a window. And it's just like,
but not enough time for her to look out the window before she jumps.
Yes, which she then jumps into a room filled with what I thought was barbed wire or razor wire, but upon closer inspection, it is just wire. It was just regular wire. Like, she didn't get cut up.
Yeah, she's a real actress, Will.
But she doesn't get like cut up, wire. Does she? She's just like in a room that has
It's supposed to be razor wire.
Barbed wire.
But she never gets cut up or anything. She's just in a room that's filled with
special
really
effects
stuck.
to do it.
Knee-high wire, and she's like just going, oh no, and you're just like, try standing. Just it's like my 3-year-old in water, or my he's almost 5. My 5-year-old, when we go to the beach, he's like, I'm like, Jack, put your feet down.
No, yeah, it's supposed to be razor wire.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was just wire.
I'm on the Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then she gets stuck enough to where the killer comes in and just stabs her. So,
yeah. But yeah, so and what they discover is so spoiler for the end of the movie, it is witches the whole time. Everyone who looked and acted like a witch earlier in the movie is one
a witch. Yeah.
Including the big Romanian guy who doesn't speak a word of English.
Who was ugly and then in the next sentence was handsome from the headmistress.
Yeah.
Which I was just an interesting... She said, it's okay to call him ugly. I do. But also, isn't he handsome? He got new teeth.
Yeah. So that's Madame Blanc, right? That you're talking about?
Is that not the headmistress?
She's the deputy headmistress.
Oh, the headmistress is
the
old lady.
The old lady. She's the deputy headmistress.
Okay.
She's the one who is...
This is where I was just confused. I think the ad in the corner really fucked me up.
Her head is 90% teeth. She was an interesting lady.
Yeah, Alida Vali was the instructor they just mentioned. What I didn't realize is that she was the main girl in The Third Man, another movie that we covered.
Oh, yeah.
So you can kind of tell if you watch clips from The Third Man again, and you look at it, you're like, okay, yeah, I can see that. Later on, this is what she would have looked like, but yeah. And then Udo Kier was one of the doctor that she talks to when she is told about you have the info dump about witches.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, no, actually I had it wrong. It was the lady who's mostly teeth, Miss Tanner, is the head instructor, and then Madame Blanc is the lady who seems like she would be the headmistress, but she's the deputy headmistress, because the real headmistress is
has sleep apnea.
Has sleep apnea and is apparently she operates with the same logic as Darby O'Gill and the Little People, where she's just like invisible and So spoiler alert, they're all witches. The headmistress has been alive for like 100 million years or something like that. And our main character just murders her in cold blood.
Well, she brought back her roommate's corpse to kill her, and she picks up the needle from a peacock statue, and then stabs her right in the neck.
Yep.
Right in the neck.
Yep, and then she just leaves. And at first we thought, oh, that whole place is burning down now. It's burning down with all the people in it, and then afterwards I was just like, oh wait, no, they already explained that they're at a rehearsal, or like they're at a dance.
The theater.
Yeah, they all went to the theater without her. Also, another thing is like the main character Susie was the wine that she was drinking was actually like drugging her. So that's why she's so at some points, like Sarah comes into her room and is like, you have to stay awake, you have to stay up, I'm telling you all about all the secret stuff I've been getting into. And she just keeps falling asleep and she like can't stay awake, and it's because that weird doctor guy has been drugging her.
So that's the same situation when I'm trying to tell my wife about the video game I'm playing, except she hasn't been drugged, she just really doesn't care.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. This
you
used
gotta
to happen.
Stay awake.
Yeah, that used to happen with Caitlin and I back when we like before kids, and we would like watch movies really late, and I would just be like, Caitlin, go to bed. She's like, I'm not asleep. I'm like, your eyes are closed and you're snoring. You are asleep. She's like, why are you bothering me? I'm like, because you've fallen asleep.
Just let her sleep.
Yeah.
The iris, I forget exactly what the words are that she hears at the beginning from the girl, but she doesn't know how to make sense of it, and it ends up being that it's like the blue iris is the key or something, and so she realizes in one of the rooms that you can turn the blue iris to open the secret compartment. The
door is behind the blue iris or something.
And how that girl figured that part out, who knows? But it sounds like they've been getting rid of girls left and right, so I don't know how they have any people there anymore.
Yeah. What's the ultimate plan for these witches? Do the dancers ever become the witches? Do you think?
Maybe.
How do they get more witches? Or do they just keep getting power? I don't know. They don't give us anything to go on. Yeah. And that's fine. They don't need to.
So I watched last night. It's called Dario Argento's Panico, and it's basically just like a documentary about his life. But Guillermo del Toro is one of the guests on it, and he talks about it. And he's like, with Suspiria, it's like a fairy tale in that when you're told a fairy tale, like a princess lives at the top of a glass mountain, and you just take that as what it is. You don't ask, how did the glass mountain get there and why does she live there? You just, that's what it is. It's like, that's, his films are all like that, where there's just a room with barbed wire, and deep red, there's a mechanical doll that can run after you. Just weird stuff. And it's the reality of the situation.
I would really like to give this or another one of his movies another shot in like a better situation circumstance, because I think it was really, this is why I got to give an asterisk with whatever I give this, because I really think it was an unfair way to view the movie, because I definitely think there were a lot of ingredients here that I did like. I think it was just, there was a lot going on that made it hard to watch.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the movie's fault that it was hard to watch. There were things that, like, it's a strange movie.
Yeah,
and
it's definitely very.
There's anyone who's going to say it isn't a strange movie. But I'm like, I feel like that's part of my shtick, is I do like strange movies. So like, I feel like there's a good chance I would like this movie if I were to give it, another shot in a better circumstance. So I do want to watch it again at some point.
I think I had I liked it the first time, but I think I got the vibes more the second time around. And I do think it if you just watch, even like rented from the library or, anything like that, it's going to be a better version than having an ad in the top left corner the whole time.
Good Lord. The stupid library here didn't even have it.
Really? They couldn't even rent it from Amazon?
Yeah, and it didn't show up on Amazon. It said it was on Apple, and then it wasn't on Apple. So it was just like, this was literally the only way I could watch it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Phil.
So, when I get back to Michigan, and it's spooky season, I'm going to find a library to rent it from, and I'm going to watch it during spooky season.
Well, you can have my copy.
I'll have your copy.
Yeah. So I would say for anyone who has watched, has interested in this or has seen this one and they were wondering what other movies of his to get into, the one that's more like this, it would be Inferno, or Phenomena, which stars a young Jennifer Connelly before she got famous, and Donald Pleasance. But Phil, what I would recommend is, and it's going to be a lot easier to find, is Deep Red, and that is a straight giallo film. It's much more in that vein of you have a mysterious killer and you have a concert pianist who is just the worst, but he just keeps trying to solve this mystery and it keeps unfolding without him. But it's a very interesting movie.
A jazz pianist and
Jazz
a wisecracking journalist are pulled into a complex web of mystery after the former witnesses the brutal murder of a psychic. I'm in.
Yep. So, and that movie has influenced a ton of other movies like Scanners. And then Daria Nicoletti is the journalist in that movie. And that's how her and Dario got together.
Okay.
Yeah. Does anyone else have anything to add? I feel like I brought up a lot of the things. Like, I liked, of course, the lighting and the music was great. I want to kind of circle back to the point that you made, Craig, about it being like a fairy tale movie where you're where you just sort of accept that, oh, she lives in a crystal tower. You don't go like, how would that structurally work? Do you know what I mean? I feel like we as audiences are coming back to a time where we can do more of that kind of stuff, as evidence by like just the amount of you see it in the change of like superhero movies. Hugh Jackman, when he first started playing Wolverine, like would never ever have worn a yellow suit, and now he's finally wearing a yellow suit. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like we're finally going like, yeah, he's wearing a yellow suit because that's what Wolverine wears. Why would he wear that? Who cares why he would wear that? That's what Wolverine wears. Do you know?
It's so funny because he wore the comic accurate hair.
Yeah,
that looked way stupider.
Yeah, it did. It actually made it made him look stupid, because if he had been in a comic book movie where he wasn't like where everyone was wearing the costumes they were supposed to be, he wouldn't have looked as silly. But looking back at 32-year-old Hugh Jackman with that hair sticking up is pretty funny. But yeah, no, I want more. I want more of people. I think I'm getting tired of cynicism. You know what I mean? Like, I'm getting tired of people being, when you're watching a movie and just being like, that's not realistic, or people are only doing this for a cash grab. I don't know. I want a little bit more just it's just goofy, fun fluff, whatever, move on, or you don't need to break it apart as long as it makes sense, in has its own internal logic. You know what I mean? Obviously if you're watching a rom-com and then suddenly out of the blue in the rom-com, there's they go to a place that's made out of cake, it's going to be whoa, what happened here?
Now hold up. What movie is this, Will?
Excuse me.
It's something I've been working on. No, but you know what I mean, though?
When Harry met cake?
When Harry met cake, yeah. But you know what I mean, though, where it's let's do a rom-com, but do the whole thing where everything is made out of cake. Whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Be the opposite of me while watching Cars.
Yeah.
Cake, actually.
I would say definitely check out Malignant. Mm-hmm. It's such a bonkers movie. And it's a recent movie. So anyone who's I can't watch anything, a movie that's older than me, then you can, there you go. It's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bridget
Jones's Cake.
Yep.
There you go. So are we ready to give this a rating?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Phil, I have a feeling yours is going to be the saddest one, so I'm going to let you do yours first.
I don't think it's going to be sad. I think it has an asterisk. I upon watching it, it was lower. But having time to digest, there were a lot of things I liked. It was just, I think the vibe was off when I watched it. I think I'm going to go with a 3 with an asterisk. Let's see, there's Show Don't Tell, and then there's this movie which seems to not show or tell, and then maybe tell a little bit a while later.
Yep. Yep. Craig, what would you give this?
Oh man, do I have anything clever to say?
Never.
No.
Got him.
Burned.
I mean, to me, this is a 5 out of 5 movie. Again, that's personal preference. I know that this movie is not for everybody. Like, I didn't pick this as like an easy 5 out of 5 because this is a challenging movie for a lot of people.
He's got cake.
But I would give this 5 out of 5 prog rock bands named Goblin.
Nice.
Yeah, I got a Halloween
cake.
I've got a Halloween playlist going, and I just like filled it up with a bunch of Goblin songs.
It's
nice.
honestly there because even they broke up in the late 70s, but like some of the members still did work for him, and they reformed as different, like a different group. But it was more
Hobgoblin.
Yeah, right. It was more electronic,
Solid.
but it's really good. I think it was for Tenebrae or Phenomena, but it's like the music is. So check out all those soundtracks to all his movies because they're all gold.
27 cakes.
Okay, we get it, Phil.
Stop the cakes.
Phil, what did you give this? What point?
I gave it a 3.
Okay.
With an asterisk.
Okay, so I'm right I'm between you guys. Because I think it's a solid movie. But I do. I feel like it is a little dusty. That's like the best way to say. Like it's from the 70s. It's Italian, so it just, you know what I mean. Like it just feels a little.
Yeah, Will hates Italian.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah. No. I just mean that like there are like everyone in it is a little weird, and you can't figure out if it's intentional or not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like and some of the acting is not good.
It's hard to tell when you're dubbing everyone too.
Well, that's what I mean by it being a little dusty. It just feels, it's just a little old, and it's like it's parts of it have aged great, and other parts.
Oh, they should just remake it.
Yeah. Well.
They did.
I know.
Yeah.
So, anyone who's interested in the remake of this, it is different. It is not the same movie. I like it just fine. But yeah, if you either liked or disliked the initial one, you might like or dislike this one in a different way. So,
so anyways, but my score is I'm going to give this 4. Hey, the guy who's flirting with her was using a red handkerchief when he was cleaning something. What?
I saw that.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, this is going to come back later. He's going to end up being the killer. We're foreshadowing it all now. Wait, no, he's not. He's not the killer. He's not even in the third act. I don't even know where he goes. Out of 5.
Yeah. I also thought I saw that, and I was like, oh, that's going to be something.
Nope.
Nope.
They just like red.
Tweren't nothing.
Yeah, and even like later, he's like hanging out with all the help who all turn out to be like witches later, and he wasn't.
He's not a witch. He's just a guy.
Yeah. So him and Susie get to no, they just kind of have like a mutual sort of like, hey, maybe maybe not. Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
He's
pretty
just
good
a
movie.
Patootie.
Yeah. All right. So whose turn is it next to pick a movie?
I think it's me.
It's Phil.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because I did Planet of the Apes. All right. Yeah, Phil.
Oh shit. 1 second.
Okay.
God, this better not be a bit.
It's always a bit with Phil.
Yeah, it just named off like 10 movies with the word cake in it.
Yeah. But he didn't like make any puns. He just changed a word in it to cake. So it was just like 27 cakes. Okay. It's not really a pun. You're just replacing one word with another.
Oh,
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
it is a bit.
It is a bit. So next week, we will be watching Borderlands.
Borderlands? The movie that just came out? Oh, by the way, this Jack's here. Hey, Jack. This is Phil's wife. So we're watching Borderlands the movie.
Borderlands the movie.
That just came out.
We all are going to be extremely angry watching.
Okay.
Thank you so
Cool.
much, Jack, for making us do this.
Here's the question. Is it in theaters?
I don't know if it's still in theaters, but it like barely stayed in theaters because it was on Prime like 2 weeks after it was released.
Oh. So
Yeah.
we it's on Prime now?
Yeah. So my thought is like we'll rent it and then you guys just can log into our Prime to watch it. We just
Cool.
gotta coordinate that 48-hour window.
All right. So we are watching Borderlands next week. I'm excited for this because I really need something to hate. And I haven't had a good hate in a while, you know?
I do very much agree with that. And honestly, when the trailer came out, it made me so angry, but in a way that I just genuinely enjoyed.
Yeah. Craig, did you say you saw this? No, none of us have seen this. No. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Thank you for liking and subscribing to the podcast. We're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. If you want to tell us one of your favorite horror movies. I know it's not October yet, but for me, at least it started with the spooky season.
If you like it, all right. So this episode was brought to you by Veronica Norland. Hey, I know her. If you want to help support us and want to hear your name shouted out on the podcast, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/mumbleandshrug.
If you like what you heard, consider leaving a review, smashing that like button, subscribing, sending us a letter, writing us a post-it note. That's all for this episode. I'm Phil Kessel.
I'm Will Chodas.
Now I'm Craig Norland.
Start watching spooky movies.
Yeah, it's that time.
It's spooky season, according to Craig.
Yes.
I think I don't think people talk enough about how great the 70s was for rock and roll. So I think everyone should really take a second to listen to some prog rock, and really explore something that they've probably never heard before, which is rock and roll music from the 70s.
Brought to you by Mumble and Shrug Productions.